They gave my promotion to a slacker, so I quit and took the heart of the company with me. I gave 8 years of my life to Cyvex Technologies. I came early, stayed late, fixed the messes no one wanted to touch. I led projects that saved us millions. I coached interns, restructured dying departments, and kept the company afloat during 2 mergers. Then came the announcement. Jason Burke was promoted to Director of Strategy. Jason, the guy who spent more time at the gym than in meetings. Jason, who once asked me what a P&L sheet was 6 months ago. I clapped with the rest of them at the all-hands meeting, but inside, I felt a cold, final snap. Something shifted. Not just in how I saw the company, but in how I saw myself. That night, I typed my resignation. 3 sentences. No drama. But before I hit send, I remembered something. The company's internal AI system, called Pulse, was mine. I created it. When upper management slashed the R&D team, I stayed behind. I trained Pulse to optimize our workflows, flag inefficiencies, and even rewrite code snippets. It became the quiet engine behind nearly every department. Most thought it was just a third-party software plugin. But the licensing? Still registered to me. I hadn't signed over full IP rights in the original agreement. They didn't even notice. On my last day, I brought donuts. Smiled. Took selfies with the team. At 5 p.m. sharp, I logged into the Pulse backend from my phone. I triggered the kill switch, non-destructive, just enough to pause all operations tied to Pulse. Within minutes, the dashboards blinked red. Project timelines disappeared. Auto reports stalled. Data predictions froze. Jason sent a mass email at 5:18 p.m. Anyone know what's going on with Pulse? I didn't reply. Instead, I uploaded a short note to the Pulse dashboard. To rebuild something, you first need to understand what makes it tick. Then I logged out for good. By the end of the week, my phone was full of missed calls from Cyvex. I ignored them because I was busy. Within 2 months, I launched Heartbeat, a streamlined, more powerful version of Pulse, this time under my name, my control. Startups loved it. 3 enterprise clients signed up within the first month. One of them? Cyvex's biggest competitor. Jason tried calling. So did the VP who once told me I was too technical to lead. Too bad. 6 months later, I saw a LinkedIn post from Cyvex. After a brief operational hiccup, we're rebuilding stronger than ever. The post had one comment from a junior analyst I used to mentor. Maybe next time, promote the brains before the biceps. I smiled. Because I didn't just quit a job. I took the very thing that kept their company alive and built something better. For myself. Monday morning hit like a tidal wave. I opened my inbox and immediately froze. Hundreds of unread emails. Not from my usual contacts, but from senior leadership. Department heads, IT leads, even upper-tier HR executives whose names I barely remembered. The subject lines were frantic, system lagging, urgent, Pulse crash report number 3, immediate assistance requested. They weren't checking in. They were pleading for help. Then, as I scrolled, one message stood out, not an email, but a LinkedIn DM. Jason. Hey, we're kinda in a bind here. Can we talk? Kinda in a bind? The words reeked of desperation, thinly veiled behind casual phrasing. I didn't reply, but I imagined the scene unfolding in the office without me. Jason pacing in that glass-walled meeting room, sweat beading along his collar, trying to make sense of the chaos. Maybe he'd pulled the team into a 7 a.m. emergency huddle, rattling off buzzwords and blaming the legacy configurations I'd left behind. But there were no scapegoats left. Only accountability. Pulse had been everywhere, woven deeply into the company's infrastructure like digital arteries. It handled everything from payroll optimization algorithms to real-time product delivery tracking, even our multi-region market prediction models. It was the bloodstream of the entire operation. Now it was hemorrhaging. Every delay, every bad forecast, every payroll discrepancy, they all pointed back to Pulse. And to Jason. The same man who had smiled smugly while nudging me out, claiming my ideas were outdated and that he was bringing in fresh vision. I could almost hear his voice now, strained, brittle, fumbling through a boardroom explanation. This is just a transitional hiccup. a post-migration bug, we're fine. But they weren't fine. They were unraveling. And for the first time, it wasn't my phone ringing, it was theirs going silent. Then came the real kicker. Not another frantic email. Not a veiled apology text from Jason. No, this time, it arrived in a sleek, cream-colored envelope delivered by courier. Heavy stock paper. Watermarked. Official. A formal acquisition letter. Syvex wanted to buy Pulse from me. Retroactively. They were offering a full IP transfer, clean, silent, binding. No legal mess, no haggling. Just a tidy seven-figure sum in exchange for the rights to the very system they had so confidently dismissed. It was more than tempting. The old me might have signed it within the hour. $1 million exit and the satisfaction of watching them squirm? That would have been enough. But not now. Because I didn't build Pulse for them anymore. It started as a vision, streamlining complexity, predicting bottlenecks, making the invisible visible. And for a while, it was my proudest creation. But after they shoved me aside, something shifted. Pulse had been frozen in time under Jason's leadership, left to rot under misuse and surface-level tweaks. Meanwhile, I had moved on. Quietly. Purposefully. Heartbeat was already alive, leaner, sharper, more adaptive. It learned, responded, evolved. It didn't just predict problems, it anticipated purpose. While they were clinging to a broken version of the past, I was writing the next chapter of the future. So I wrote back, short, sharp, surgical. Pulse is obsolete. We've moved on to Heartbeat. I suggest you do the same. No emotion. No gloating. But I knew the irony wouldn't be lost on them. These were the same people who once called me rigid, unwilling to innovate, too cautious to lead. They stripped me of authority, painted me as a relic, and now, with their house on fire, they were begging for water from the well they filled with concrete. Not long ago, they had my resignation framed as a victory. Now they were chasing ghosts. And I was already 2 moves ahead. Heartbeat took off. Faster than even I expected. It wasn't a viral moment or some overhyped launch. It was steady, undeniable traction, the kind that couldn't be bought with ad dollars or faked in pitch decks. Clients came, not because of slick marketing, but because they were tired of half-baked solutions wrapped in buzzwords. They wanted clarity, precision, results. And that's exactly what we gave them. We began hiring fast, but smart. I didn't care about Ivy League resumes or corporate speak. I wanted people like me. People Syvex had overlooked. Silenced. Laughed off. And they came. One by one, I watched them walk into our shared space, ex-Syvex engineers, analysts, designers. Faces I'd once passed in hallways, now ignited with purpose. No longer buried under Jason's management layers. No longer told to stay in their lane. I gave them something different. Real leadership. Not gym bro pep talks. Not empty metaphors about grinding or owning the hustle. I gave them trust. Autonomy. Purpose. A voice. And they delivered. Oh, did they deliver? Clients didn't just stick around, they multiplied. First doubled. Then tripled. We expanded into sectors Pulse had never touched. Healthcare, logistics, even climate modeling. Heartbeat adapted like nothing else on the market. It learned and improved in real time, becoming more than software, becoming a. Then came the call. A respected investor, old school, no nonsense, asked if I'd consider taking Heartbeat public. He talked about valuation, growth rounds, the prestige of ringing that bell on Wall Street. And for a moment, I considered it. The symbolism would have been perfect. Full circle. A public debut just blocks from where Jason once pitched my ideas as his own. But I paused. Going public meant slowing down. Reporting quarterly. Taming our fire to please analysts in suits who didn't understand what we were building. And the truth was we weren't done yet. We were still in the thick of it. Still building, experimenting, dreaming. I didn't want applause. I wanted momentum. And Heartbeat was just getting started. The news hit LinkedIn like a thunderclap. Jason Burke removed as director at Syvex amid performance investigation. 12 words. That's all it took to shatter the polished image he'd tried so hard to maintain. The post spread like wildfire, liked, shared, speculated on. Colleagues went silent. Former subordinates chimed in with vague posts about leadership lessons and accountability finally catching up. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. Jason's carefully curated empire, built on buzzwords, stolen credit, and corporate arrogance, was imploding, brick by brittle brick. The man who once strutted through boardrooms with smug certainty was now a footnote to his own failure. Then came the second blow. Barely a month later, another headline surfaced. Syvex announces acquisition by rival tech firm, leadership shakeup expected. That rival firm? The one now absorbing Syvex's assets, clients, and shattered reputation? Heartbeat had quietly partnered with them just weeks earlier. A strategic alignment. Our tech integrated into their infrastructure, our team consulting on their next-gen systems. It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. It was surgical. And entirely intentional. Jason never saw it coming. While he scrambled to salvage Pulse, to spin narratives in shareholder meetings, we were building bridges beneath his feet, bridges he no longer had access to. Some might have called it revenge. But that's not what drove me. I didn't want Jason's job. I didn't want his title or his desk or some hollow public apology. I wanted momentum, progress, purpose. So I stayed focused. While headlines trended, I went back to my team. Back to Heartbeat. Back to the late nights, whiteboards, breakthroughs. There was still so much left to do. Jason fell on his own. I just made sure I wasn't standing beneath him when he did. Let the dominoes fall where they may. Exactly 1 year to the day after I resigned from Syvex, I stood under the bright lights of a packed auditorium. It was surreal, this moment. Not because of the scale, or the stage, or the tech conference's polished grandeur. But because it was mine. Because everything they once dismissed, my ideas, my leadership, my vision, had taken shape without them. And now here I was, demoing Heartbeat's latest evolution. A real-time adaptive learning system for predictive logistics, able to anticipate delays across global supply chains before they even happened. It didn't just analyze. It learned, evolved, and responded faster than anything on the market. The live demo went flawlessly. Screens lit up. The audience leaned in. Gasps turned into applause. And as the feature concluded, they rose to their feet. Not for a spectacle, but for the quiet work. The years of unseen labor. The nights my hands trembled over code. The mornings I woke up with doubt and kept building anyway. The applause felt earned. Afterward, during the press Q&A, a reporter, young, sharp, stood up and leaned into her mic. She tilted her head, smiling almost conspiratorially. "Do you have a message for your old company?" The room went quiet. Cameras lifted. Pens paused. I didn't hesitate. I didn't need bitterness to speak. I just smiled and said, "No. Just a reminder to any company. Never underestimate the one who quietly keeps your heart beating." There was a moment of silence, then laughter. Not mockery, but respect. Understanding. And then applause again. I walked off stage with the spotlight behind me, not chasing validation, but stepping forward into something greater. Because Heartbeat wasn't just a product anymore. It was a symbol. Of second chances. Of quiet revolutions. Of what happens when underestimated people are given room to lead. I wasn't building for revenge. I was building for legacy. And the world had finally begun to listen.